Hello, thanks for coming back to our YouTube channel, Cas.Ai. Today we will continue exploring and analyzing how we conduct user acquisition and ad purchasing for your games. In the previous video, we discussed the important benchmarks that should be present in your game and what key aspects we need to focus on to ensure the game is ready for user acquisition. Briefly, let me remind you, these are metrics such as retention, playtime, and the amount of advertising present in your game. Today we will continue discussing this topic and furthermore talk about the different traffic acquisition channels where it's best to conduct CPI tests and what are LTV tests. Your game is now ready for user acquisition ad purchasing, and here the question arises, where can you get this traffic and what is needed for that? If we talk about it in the past, the common practice was that we test games, and you've probably indeed heard about this on a traffic acquisition channel like Meta, where we run test campaigns. Yes, I would probably agree with you, but I will also share my other experiences and different traffic acquisition channels. And what do we do there? What parameters do we look at? If the game is new and you don't yet know which channel will potentially work for you, you might initially consider running a small test campaign on Facebook to see what CPI you get. But as a rule, if the game is new, especially for hyper-casual projects and hyper-casual products, the CPI is usually very high. There is a low probability that the CPI you get from this will be viable. In fact, this traffic is best used not as your primary method of acquiring new customers, but rather for testing additional creatives. For example, we follow a different practice. We use it for other purposes. Video networking. I'll explain why and the reasons behind it. Since networks like Unity, ironSource, and Mintigrol are extremely popular and widely used for hyper-casual games, we primarily acquire traffic through them. Therefore, it makes sense for us to conduct such tests on these networks. This allows us to immediately see whether our game is a good fit for the publishers available on this traffic source. Traffic for our game? Therefore, if you want to run a small test at a low cost, please be mindful and pay close attention and choose carefully and effectively. Sources. Before conducting any tests, it is advisable to perform a technical test. What is a technical test and what budget will you need for it? A technical test is conducted to check whether your data is being tracked correctly and accurately on the specific network you have chosen and whether everything is being correctly transmitted to the MMP you have set up. If you have various events, such as for instance level progression in the game, a purchase event, or perhaps an ad disable event, any event you have, it must be correctly and accurately transmitted and tracked by the tracking platform you have chosen. For this, you need to conduct a small technical test. Typically, this costs around $50. It will be enough to get a few installs, allowing you to verify that everything is functioning correctly from a technical standpoint. After that, you can proceed with launching and running tests. Therefore, on your screen, you can see the channels available to you. These could be Applevin, Pangle, ironSource, Unity, Vungle, or Mintigrol. But also pay attention to the fact that you might come across a channel like Moloko, and you may notice that a similar game is being purchased there very successfully. However, this does not mean that you should simply immediately jump into large networks or DSPs and try running tests there. The second point to consider when conducting a CPI test and evaluating a particular network is to very carefully and thoroughly pay attention to the geolocation you choose. It is very important. The primary geolocation is the USA. Yes, I agree. This is the most profitable location where you can potentially earn and generate the most revenue. But sometimes other geolocations are used as well, such as Mexico and Indonesia. Among the latest tests that I can recommend and that we have conducted, one of them was Poland. Quite high quality traffic and quality users. You can look at user retention, playtime, and evaluate. Additionally, these geolocations will have a much lower CPI compared to US traffic. So, let's say you chose Unity as your acquisition channel, conducted a technical test, and performed a CPI test. And now, after the results come in when the cohort of users you purchased is closed, if you don't know what cohorts are or how to analyze them, feel free to ask questions in the comments under this video. We can also perhaps take an additional look. I can even easily show you on dashboards how we evaluate our cohorts. You can review and assess the quality of the traffic from the users you purchased If you've checked and seen that, your CPI in the selected geolocation on that platform is naturally lower than the LTV generated by a user in that geolocation, then congratulations. This type of game can be part of the acquisition, but again, if something didn't simply work out on the first try, remember that the channel you used for the CPI test might not be the best fit. For your target audience, different networks certainly provide publishers of varying quality, and not all publishers may be suitable for the genre of your game. Therefore, it may be worth conducting 2-3 tests to see which acquisition channel is the most relevant for you, such as